Welcome to Inside Gateway, our weekly live look behind the curtain into Gateway Woods and the staff. You might notice that John is missing and so is Emily. And basically what happened, Lucy and I worked from Illinois and we got tired of the Indiana people hogging all the spotlight. So we said we're gonna take over. And they said you can have once a month. So we're gonna start with Lucy today. This is Luci Koch. She is our Illinois Adoption Program Director. And we're going to get to know Lucy a little bit today. How are you, Lucy?
Doing good.
All right. So just share a little bit about your role within the Gateway Woods family and how that came to be and your journey to where you're at today.
Okay. Well, it's been kind of a roundabout journey to what I'm doing. So what I do here, well, I do a little bit of everything, but I manage the adoption program here in Illinois. In Illinois, adoption is our only program. So we can help any families that are interested in adoption. We also help men and women that are facing an unplanned pregnancy, and we can help them make that decision, educate, and help them in making a plan for their child. So I didn't intend, this is a second career for me, so how I came to Gateway was maybe a little bit unintentional, but I was a nurse for 14 years and got a little bit disenfranchised, I guess, with the nursing career, and was looking for something with more heart in it to reach people's hearts, and was a little frustrated with regulations and so forth. Not that social work is free of regulations. So I got my master's in social work and looked for a job, and nothing opened up right away here in Central Illinois, and so I applied to Gateway. And they said, hey, we got the Illinois Adoption Program, and I didn't think I was qualified, but they said, yeah, you have the credentials. And so I actually worked from the Indiana office for 1.5 years and learned the ropes of adoption, and then moved back here to Illinois to get things started. And we've been going here in Illinois since 2014, and God has been very good to us. We've grown. It's been slow, but just steady growth, and that's it.
Okay. So your background in nursing, does that ever come into play when you're working with like the birth moms and those young ladies? Does that give you extra credibility when you're talking to them, or do they?
I don't really want that background, but I think it gives me a good in child development history, and we do a lot of follow-up with our adoptive families. It's helpful networking with hospitals and OB offices, so it's been helpful.
Okay, great. So what is your within your roles here, you said you wear many hats, and we were talking about that earlier, but what are some of the high points of all those hats you wear? What are some of your favorites to put on, and what are some of those experiences that you love about this job?
Yeah, so there's a lot of high points, and so I love working with the adoptive families. I get to meet so many different families. We cover the whole state of Illinois, so I just some of the diversity there. And so I've worked with some of the more interesting are like first generation immigrants who are wanting to adopt from their home country. So I get to meet a lot of different families and help them out and with a lot of different situations. I also love working with the birth parents too. It can be tough and heartbreaking, but I have met some of the bravest men and women I have ever known. Adoption is never easy. Choosing to place your child for adoption is never easy, and I've met some really amazing men and women, and so that's a highlight. It's adoption in general is this picture of beauty and brokenness, and so it's like sometimes a low point and the high point. So it's just how it is.
Who typically starts this process? Is it usually the birth mother and coming to you, or is it a family coming to you, or is it just kind of a mix of both?
Yeah, it's both. We have our families that have been approved and waiting for adoption. That's what we do, is we get them all paperwork ready, and then we also have the birth families approach us and say, I had this unplanned pregnancy, can you help? And we say yes, and we learn about their situation. Adoption's not right for every situation, but we just talk to them and hear their story and hear their heart, and hopefully help match them with an adoptive family that is so wanting to parent a child.
So within that, do you have, I mean, I'm sure there's some confidentiality here, but is there just a certain situation that you think back and you think, this just really touched my heart, maybe it changed you in some way, that an interaction you had with a birth mom or with an adoptive family, or just bringing them together?
Yeah. One of the probably the most I love about my job is I get to see God work. He brings families together. I do the paperwork, but there have been many situations, or I think of one in particular, I thought this is never going to happen. There was so many times, so many different challenges and stressors. I thought, oh, birth mom's going to change your mind. Oh, there's just so much going against this adoptive placement. And I just remember thinking, it happened. God made it happen. And on my way to do a follow-up visit with that family, I'm like, wow, it is all God that puts families together. And I love seeing him work because sometimes I think this is crazy. This is never gonna work out, and he does it. And there are disappointments, and there's times when I don't understand the disappointments, but there's times when he does some very big miracles in adoptive parents' lives and birth parents' lives.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember when we were at Gateway, there was a probation officer that she was a little jaded in some respects, but Gateway had slowly. She loved Gateway Woods, and I remember she was at a team meeting once when we were at Hickory House, and she said, I don't understand how Gateway works. Families move out here with their kids, and then you put delinquent teenagers with them, and somehow those kids just thrive and they grow. And on our end, we know it's God working behind the scenes, and we're just doing what he asked us to, but she saw that. And I think I hear you saying the same things. You know, you said you just do the paperwork, and then God just does his thing. You know, and it's so beautiful. So that's great. So you mentioned that it's not always roses, and not everything works out well. So what are some of your frustrations with this role? Things that come up and you just, I don't want to deal with that.
Well, it's people, and it's helping people in hard places. I don't always know what to do, and we just trust the Spirit and use God's wisdom. And it can be frustrating to work with foreign governments and whatnot. We do help with international adoption as well. So there is disappointments when country programs close, or just there's so much that can go wrong in adoption. But yeah, like I said, on the flip side, God can work in those disappointments, but seeing people struggle and seeing people be working through, whether it's infertility issues, or there's so much heartbreak that comes to this from the adopted parents' perspective, as well as the birth parents always sort of in a very broken place, and so it hurts, but that's what I signed up for.
Yeah. Do you feel like, so you got your master's in social work.
Yeah.
Do you feel like all of that learning prepared you for what you experience now on a day-to-day basis?
Oh, it helped, but probably just life experience, it helps. We're just working with people in some really raw situations, so yes, it helps to have a master's degree and so forth, and counseling experience, but it just helps to have lived and to, I don't know, answers or not.
Yeah, no, that's great. So as you mentioned before, you started out on Leo campus, and slowly as things progressed, and you came back to Morton here. So you've had a unique experience that not a lot of people have had of working on the Leo campus and working here remotely, we'll say. And so what's your take on that? Was there pros and cons to each, and do you prefer one over the other?
Yeah. Oh, it was good. I was at the Indiana campus for about a year and a half. And so I loved the support and the camaraderie and just people around. You're not alone. Here I am alone in the office a lot. There are 3 employees we have with our Illinois adoption program. But I also love the smallness, the personalized care we can give to our clients, the relationship I can have with my coworkers, that we can spend time in prayer for our clients, and just the good communication. We don't have to have monthly staff meetings. I can just walk down the hall and talk to my coworkers, and so I love this small environment as well, and so it has its benefits both ways.
Do you feel like, have you built a network here within Central Illinois of different agencies and people you work with, and is all of your work done here, or do you get out and about?
I am out and about quite a bit, and we're still working on the network. Gateway is still the thing. We can expose Gateway Woods more today. A little bit unknown and unheard of in Central Illinois, not as much as Indiana. So that's very much an uphill battle to just start a whole new adoption agency. I hear, who are you a lot? And like, yeah, we're Gateway Woods. And so that is one of our struggles. And so anyway, we're working on that. And I forget the second part of your question.
That's pretty much it, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so obviously you come here and you work, but you have a life outside of Gateway. So who is Luci Koch outside of Gateway when you punch out at the end of the day? What keeps you busy? And
yeah, well, right now in this season of life, my entire life outside of Gateway is being foster mom to 2 toddlers, 1 and 2, and so that is very time consuming. But I love it. Exhausting, but love every moment of caring for my 2 foster kiddos. So that sums it up pretty well right now.
Okay.
I don't get out and do much other than stroller rides.
Okay. How old are your foster kids?
1 and 2.
1 and 2. Okay. So they're just kind of developing their interests and
Yes.
life.
And I get to use all of my somewhat similar adoption knowledge and trauma-based parenting skills. My since being foster mom, my education has evolved, and I hope it's to the better. Anyway, some real life experience along with my book learning.
Okay. Okay. So you mentioned earlier, I know I gave you a list of questions and you said you don't like surprises, but you were saying earlier you wear a lot of different hats. Just give everyone an idea of what your day-to-day grind, so to speak. What are some of those different hats that you wear here?
So I get to do a little bit of everything. I mean, I run the program, so I get to do the social work, and that's the part I love, meeting clients and going out into their homes. I do spend quite a bit of time in client homes. But I also have to keep the office running, so I do the bookkeeping, I clean the office, answer the phones, so that's great. You can call us and you can get the director on the phone. Not every agency has that advantage, so being small, I get to do the marketing and there's always some not so favorite parts of what I get to do, but
I did have a question about the birth moms. And so let's say we get through the whole process and the adoption is finalized. What kind of aftercare is there for them? I mean, I'm sure there's a grieving process for them. Is there people you steer them to? Is there any help for them after the fact?
Yes. We want to always be there for them. They can always contact us, and we've had their lives can go back to kind of chaotic situations, and we want to be the agency they can always call for questions, concerns, moral support. We do part of our adoption, we really push professional counseling, and we have funds set aside for that. And there's no time limit for that as part of our agency policy. And so we really push that. And then also to connect them to other resources where there's wonderful pregnancy resource centers in our area that also have follow-up supportive services. So just to be a friend to them and to help them, because it's not easy to place, and the aftermath can be really hard.
Okay. Well, that kind of answers all my questions. Is there anything else that I will ask you? If people are interested in adoption and they want to get a hold of you, how can they go about starting that process?
Yes, you can look for our webpage. It's www.gatewaywoodsil.org. You can find all about our agency, and so just call us up, and we'll be glad to talk. You don't have to be ready to sign on the dotted line for adoption. We love to answer questions about adoption and educate and meet you where you're at. So whatever you need help with, we'll give it a try.
All right. Well, Luci, I always appreciate when we come in here, and we always hijack Luci's office here when we have fundraising meetings with the fundraising department, and Luci's always very accommodating and kind to us and has mints and snacks on board for us to enjoy and never complains about us invading her space. And we just appreciate what you do for the people and who are looking to adopt, and for those birth moms. I was thinking about it on the way over. My wife is adopted, and just to think about how God works in a kid's life who's so small, and has no clue what's going on, and how he can take them from a situation and put them in a place where they're going to hear about Jesus. It just completely humbles me, and I'm thankful for your place in that, and I just appreciate you a lot. So we're going to continue Illinois interviews every third Wednesday for Gateway Live. So if you're interested in the Illinois Adoption Program, the next 2 months will be the other 2 staff members here, and we're looking forward to that. I see there are some questions on the screen. I don't have anybody to read them, and it's pretty far away, so we will try to get to those online. We'll answer them after the fact, but we thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.